లేదండి. ఓకే, మీ పాయింట్ మాట్లాడుకుందాం. ఇప్పుడు చైనా, జపాన్ ఎక్కడికో అభివృద్ధి సాధిస్తుంటే మనం ఇంకా చీరల దగ్గర ఉన్నామండి. ఈ ఇరాను, ఈ ఇరాక్, ఈ ఆఫ్ఘనిస్తాను మనం ఇంకా అక్కడే ఉండిపోతే ఆఖరికి చివరాఖరికి థాయిలాండ్ అభివృద్ధి సాధించింది. చూడండి, ఆ బిల్డింగ్ చూడండి మన డబ్బులతోని. ఒకప్పుడు
The world's largest democracy is quietly becoming a superpower, and nobody sees it coming. While America and China fight for global dominance, while Europe struggles with energy crisis, India has been playing the most sophisticated geopolitical game in modern history. A strategy so brilliant that it makes every other nation look amateur. This isn't just another emerging market story. This is the rise of the ultimate strategic player. You think India is just another developing country trying to catch up? You think Modi is simply focused on domestic growth? But what if India is actually orchestrating the most successful great power strategy of the 21st century? Let me begin with a number that should make Washington and Beijing nervous. India's economy will reach $7 trillion by 2030. That's larger than Germany and Japan combined. But here's what makes this terrifying for the current superpowers. India isn't choosing sides, it's playing all sides. Consider this paradox that shouldn't be possible. India is simultaneously a member of the Quad Alliance with the United States, Japan and Australia. Yet it's also a founding member of BRICS with China, Russia and Brazil. In any other context, this would be called impossible. You can't be allied with both America and China. You can't participate in Western security arrangements while building Eastern economic partnerships. But India isn't following anyone else's rules. While America demands loyalty and China demands submission, India offers something different. Strategic autonomy. The ability to cooperate without surrendering sovereignty. And it's working spectacularly. Let me show you how sophisticated this balancing act has become. In 2024, India imported more Russian oil than ever before, despite Western sanctions, despite American pressure, despite European condemnation. Russian oil now accounts for nearly 40% of India's energy imports, at massive discounts that save Indian consumers billions while keeping Russia's economy afloat. The West called it sanctions busting. India called it smart economics. But here's the brilliant part. While importing Russian energy, India is also receiving American technology transfers, sex and fighter jet production, semiconductor manufacturing partnerships, defense equipment deals worth over $20 billion. Any other country attempting this would face immediate consequences from both sides. Sanctions from the West for supporting Russia, pressure from the East for accepting American technology. India faces neither. Why? Because India has become too valuable to punish. The United States needs India to contain China in the Indo-Pacific. China needs India to prevent complete economic isolation. Russia needs India to maintain global legitimacy. Europe needs India as an alternative manufacturing base. Everyone needs India more than India needs anyone. This is strategic leverage at its finest. But the energy game is just the beginning. The real masterstroke is happening in manufacturing. For decades, China was the world's factory. Made in China became synonymous with global production. Supply chains ran through Chinese ports. Corporate profits depended on Chinese manufacturing costs. India is systematically dismantling this monopoly. Not through confrontation, through attraction. Apple now produces more iPhones in India than anywhere outside China. Samsung has made India its largest manufacturing hub globally. Tesla is planning its biggest factory outside the United States in India. But here's what makes this different from traditional outsourcing. India isn't just assembling products designed elsewhere. It's becoming the design and innovation center. Google's global AI research, Microsoft's cloud computing development, Amazon's logistics innovation, all increasingly centered in India. This isn't manufacturing migration. This is intellectual capital migration. And it's happening because India offers what China cannot: democratic institutions, English language capabilities, and most importantly, strategic reliability without political submission. Companies are discovering they can access Indian talent without navigating Chinese political restrictions. They can innovate in India without worrying about intellectual property theft. They can manufacture in India without fearing sudden policy changes. The result is the fastest large-scale industrial transition in modern history. But perhaps the most brilliant aspect of Indian strategy is demographic. While China faces population decline and aging workforce, India has 600 million people under the age of 25, the largest young population in human history. While Japan struggles with labor shortages, while Europe imports workers, while America debates immigration, India has unlimited human capital. Every year, India produces more engineers than Europe and America combined, more doctors than most countries have total healthcare workers, more programmers than the rest of Asia. This isn't just quantity, it's quality at scale. Indian universities now rank among the world's best in technology and business. Indian entrepreneurs are founding more unicorn startups than any country except the United States and China. The talent pipeline is extraordinary and is being harnessed strategically. Consider the global CEO phenomenon. Microsoft, Google, Adobe, IBM, Twitter, run by Indian executives who understand both Eastern and Western business cultures. This isn't coincidence. This is the result of educational systems that produce globally competent leaders who can navigate multiple economic and political systems. India is exporting leadership to run the world's most important companies, but the demographic dividend extends beyond technology. India's youth represents the world's largest consumer market that hasn't yet reached middle-class purchasing power. When 600 million young Indians achieve middle-class incomes, they will consume more than Europe and Japan combined, more smartphones than America, more automobiles than China. Every global company understands this math. The Indian market isn't just large, it's potentially larger than any market in human history. This creates incredible negotiating leverage. Want access to the Indian market? Accept Indian terms. Want Indian manufacturing capacity? Respect Indian strategic autonomy. Want Indian cooperation? Acknowledge Indian priorities. Unlike other large economies, India isn't desperate for foreign investment. It's selective about partnerships. The financial numbers reflect this strategic approach. Foreign direct investment into India reached $83 billion in 2023. But unlike investment patterns in other emerging economies, this isn't concentrated in a few sectors or from a few countries. American technology companies, European manufacturers, Chinese infrastructure developers, Japanese automotive producers, Korean electronics firms. Investment is diversified across sectors and sources. This means India isn't dependent on any single economic relationship. No country can pressure India by threatening investment withdrawal because no country dominates Indian capital flows. Strategic diversification at its most sophisticated. The military dimension reveals similar brilliance. India operates American aircraft, Russian missiles, French submarines, and Israeli intelligence systems. No other country successfully integrates military technology from such diverse sources. This should create maintenance nightmares and operational complications. Instead, it creates strategic independence. India can't be pressured through arms embargoes because it doesn't depend on any single supplier. It can't be isolated through technology restrictions because it maintains relationships with all major defense producers. When Russia faces Western sanctions, India continues receiving military supplies. When America restricts technology transfers, India turns to European alternatives. When China threatens border tensions, India has multiple alliance options. Military diversification mirrors economic diversification. But perhaps most importantly, India is reshaping global institutions rather than simply joining them. The G20 presidency demonstrated this perfectly. Rather than accepting Western-designed agendas, India centered discussions on Global South priorities: food security, energy access, debt relief, climate adaptation, topics that matter to 85% of the world's population but rarely dominate international forums. India forced global leaders to address Indian priorities on Indian terms, and it worked. The African Union gained G20 membership. Debt restructuring mechanisms were established, climate finance commitments increased, real policy outcomes that benefit India and its partners. This is leadership without hegemony, influence without domination. India offers something that neither America nor China provides: partnership without submission, cooperation without control. The Belt and Road Initiative requires accepting Chinese infrastructure standards, Chinese labor, Chinese debt terms. Participation in American-led institutions requires accepting American political positions, American security arrangements, American economic policies. India's approach is different. Mutual benefit without political conditions. This is why 130 countries are exploring closer relationships with India while maintaining their existing international partnerships. India isn't asking anyone to choose. it's offering additional options. The next phase of this strategy will be even more sophisticated. India is developing its own international payment systems to reduce dollar dependence without completely abandoning Western financial infrastructure. It's building trade relationships that use local currencies for bilateral commerce while maintaining dollar reserves for global transactions. Digital innovation is central to this approach. India's unified payments interface processes more transactions than Visa and MasterCard combined. This technology is being exported to developing countries as an alternative to Western payment systems, but unlike Chinese digital exports that create technological dependence, Indian systems are designed for interoperability. Countries can adopt Indian payment technology while maintaining their existing financial relationships. Strategic competition through attraction rather than coercion. The implications for global order are profound. For 75 years, international relations operated on binary choices: East or West, communist or capitalist, aligned or non-aligned. India is demonstrating that multipolar engagement is not only possible but profitable. Countries watching Indian success are learning valuable lessons. You don't have to choose between American security and Chinese economics. You don't have to accept Western political conditions to access Western technology. You don't have to submit to Chinese political influence to benefit from Chinese investment. Strategic autonomy is achievable if you're smart enough and strong enough to maintain it. This is reshaping global expectations about sovereignty and cooperation. The silent rise is complete. India has achieved great power status without conquering anyone, without threatening anyone, without demanding anyone choose sides. It simply became too valuable to ignore and too strong to pressure. 3.5 billion people in South Asia now have a champion. The global South has a leader. The multipolar world has its architect. And the best part, this is just the beginning. India's rise will continue because it's based on sustainable advantages: demographics, democracy, diversification, and strategic sophistication. While other powers rely on military dominance or economic coercion, India builds partnerships through mutual benefit and shared opportunity. This is how the 21st century great power game is won, not through force or fear, but through attraction and alternatives. India cracked the code, others will follow the model.